I'm Shannon Gaffner Holmes and welcome to my channel. My channel is about epigenetics and living a healthy life and avoiding Alzheimer's. Many aspects of avoiding Alzheimer's is addressing all things about your life as far as faith, function, fitness, food, and finances, which is just a broad term for all those things. But today I want to come on and talk to you about what we put on our skin and explain something that's happened to me. So in 2008, I had breast reduction surgery and I had implants placed. When I went to the plastic surgeon, I really was just wanting a breast lift because I'd had 2 children and had nursed both of my children, and so then I just really wanted my boobs put kind of back where they belong. And the comment that I made is, he said, "Oh, you have enough breast tissue on your own to do just the lift?" And I said, "Well, I don't know that I see doing this surgery again, and I do have the investment now. I don't want my boobs to sag again like they did with nursing and that kind of thing." And he said, "Oh, the only way to guarantee that is to do implants, and I'll put some really small implants in." He may have gone over the fact that when you get implants placed, about every 7 years you need to get them replaced because they're kind of like tires on a car. The outer shell wears out and things like that. I don't know if he had gone over that or not. I know that lots of times when we're in a medical situation or we're seeking somebody's advice, that we listen to the things we want to hear, and a lot of times the other things may have been addressed and maybe we didn't catch them. That's why it's always good to take a second party with you so that they get there to hear the information that you're hearing, and then you can have a conversation after the fact and maybe be reminded of some of the things that you weren't focused on. But whatever the case may be, I didn't realize that I needed to get the breast implants replaced after a certain time, because if I had clearly understood that, most likely I would have chosen not to get the implants, because it just was a rare thing that I was even in the place to have the surgery to begin with. Financially, it was just kind of one of those things I felt was like once in a lifetime, in my opinion. With that being said, I ended up getting mold toxicity and silicone illness and a lot of autoimmune associated implant illness, things that happened to me in a very short period of time. I got the implants placed in 2008, and by the time it was 2010, I was already having problems with chronic inflammation, and I was having severe mood swings and bouts of sadness. And if I drank orange juice, I'd get this pounding in my chest and I wouldn't be able to breathe real well, and I didn't understand what that was. And when I would try to look, sometimes it would seem like there was a fog in front of my eyes, which I was told were floaters, and I would just have to deal with. And there was times I would get in my car and I would be taking my kids to school, and I would for a moment have no idea how I was going to get to where I had driven every day for years before that, because I just couldn't think of how to get there. And I thank God that I have a strong belief in Jesus Christ and the help of the Holy Spirit, because I would pray at that point, and I eventually always ended up getting to my destination. But I had many times that happened, and it was very frightening to me. It was later discovered that by specialist Susan Kolb. She's out of Atlanta, Georgia. I was gifted her book by a fitness friend, and I went to see her, and she diagnosed me with the internal mold and with the silicone illness, and that I needed to get the breast implants removed and the scar capsule. Once I did that, she removed 2 lymph nodes on the left side that were also full of silicone and toxins from the implants. But other than that, the rest of my lymph nodes look pretty good. And so I had this surgery in 2013, and I immediately started getting better. It was just night and day difference on how much I was getting better. And I have dealt with the issues of the mold, and she had explained to me that when you have anything that's foreign in your body and then you're breathing in spores, and because of the high amount of hurricanes in the South, she said it's almost impossible for somebody living in the South not to end up with issues because of the high levels of mold and things like that. With that being said, it was just really difficult, and I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to find a good surgeon and to get those removed. In the years since then, she told me at that time that it was not a good idea to wear underwire bras, and I thought she was crazy because I'd always worn underwire bras, and she said that really constricts the flow of the lymph fluid underneath your arms, and ideally if you can wear an undergarment that is more like a sports bra or things like that, that it's better for your health. I have not 100% adopted that, but I have gotten pretty good at wearing things that are less constricting and things like that over the years. Well, earlier this year, when I was 34, I had my uterus and ovaries removed because I had severe chronic endometriosis, and there was nothing wrong with my ovaries, but I was advised by a trusted professional that it would be in my best interest to remove my ovaries, because if I didn't, that the risk of getting cancer in the future was almost guaranteed. So I followed that advice and I got the ovaries removed. If I were to do it again, I personally would not get my ovaries removed because it has been a very difficult journey since then, balancing my hormones and getting the hormone part of my health back. And I don't wish that on anybody. So if you're in the position that it is being advised to have a hysterectomy or something like that, I highly recommend, if you possibly can, to save your ovaries. It's very difficult and a really challenging task to balance those hormones, and to balance your hormones at such a young age in a way that doesn't put you at greater risk for other types of cancer, because anytime you're replacing those hormones with a synthetic, that throws something else off. With that being said, I for several years was getting implanted hormones, and in the process of that, I ended up with some toxicity from that almost destroyed my thyroid. And so that added to my journey as far as repairing my health. And so then I had a very bad ordeal with the implanted hormone pellets with the first doctor, because he was not checking my hormone levels. He was just doing what felt good to me instead of looking at my blood and things like that. And it became very dangerous for me. And I'll talk more about that another day. With all of that being said, one thing that we can do for our health, whether you've had problems or haven't had problems, is what we put on our skin. And specifically today, I want to talk about antiperspirant and deodorant. Deodorant is definitely one of those things that everybody wants to feel dry, everybody wants to feel fresh, and nobody wants to stink, and I get that. But the one thing that we need to understand is antiperspirant is a known cause of cancer, because it actually blocks your ability to sweat and release those toxins in that area. So the toxins just accumulate. My personal experience, about 3 to 4 years ago, I started making my own deodorant, and I have it right here. And I make it out of coconut oil, arrowroot powder, and essential oils, and some baking soda. And I've used this for about 3 to 4 years. And the thing that I have found with that natural deodorant is initially when you first start using it, you're releasing a lot of toxins in your body. So you may find that I got a rash initially. And I just backed off the use of it. And then as the rash would subside, I would just use plain coconut oil, and then I would use it again. And I'm sure the baking soda was drawing a lot of those toxins out, and you'll get a rash when your body can't process the toxins efficiently. So now that I've used it for 3 or 4 years, I don't even sweat as much. And it is very comforting to know that I'm not blocking that detoxification pathway, but I'm also not inhibiting the body's natural process of detoxifying. With that being said, at the beginning of the year, I went to my doctor that was managing my hormones and giving me bioidentical hormones in a form of a cream that I would put on my arms. And she said she couldn't see me anymore until I had a referral and had a mammogram. Well, I wasn't comfortable doing the mammogram because my information about the mammograms is a lot of times they're not really accurate, and it's a lot of radiation that you're now exposing to your body that your body can't handle properly. And so I didn't want to do the mammogram, especially because I am a dental professional and I'm around some form of radiation every day. I just didn't want to increase that radiation load. And so I said, well, I didn't want to do that, and I found a functional doctor to manage my hormones, and she agreed to let me do a thermography scan. So my thermography showed in May, this is my breast region, and this is one armpit, and that's the other armpit. If you look, there's a white region there that's the worst. The red is bad, and then as it goes to yellow, it gets better. And then all the blue shows that there's blood constriction and that it's actually not able to flow as well. There's some stuff up here in my neck also. And so they circled, let's see if I could show you that area, if you can see it. And then this area over this breast up here. And they didn't quite tell me that it could be cancerous or anything like that, but they did explain that if I didn't address it, that I definitely would have problems. So I had that done in May, and they recommended that I get some lymphatic massage, because I'm sure all of this congestion is still leftover silicone from my breast implants, and possibly some toxins from just years and years of using antiperspirant. I mean, when Secret came out with like the clinical strength, I was your girl. I was on it. And when I didn't feel like that worked when I moved to the South, I tried Mitchum's. I mean, the stronger the better. When I moved to the South from living in California, it was completely different because it's so humid and you just smell. And I remember when I first moved here, I asked my girlfriend that I had met, I said, you know, I put on my deodorant after my shower every morning, and it seems like in a couple of days, it doesn't work anymore. She said, oh yeah, that's what it's like living here. She said, just get 5 different brands that have like 5 different levels of whatever their active ingredients are, and then just rotate them out. She said, because it'll quit working. And I was just like, what? In California, I could work out, I could dry off, and I never stunk. It was like, I thought I was falling apart. So I was the first person to say, if it's stronger, give it to me. Because I did not want to smell, and I was very self-conscious about it. Well, back to whenever I started having my health problems, and I understood exactly how much it stopped your body from releasing the toxins that make you ill or fat or anything like that. And I switched to the coconut oil and baking soda. I would go through, I guess the first year I would go for a while, and then I'd have a rash, and then it would clear up, and I'd go for another couple months and I'd have another rash. And at that time I was using the sauna off and on, but I wasn't using it like 3 or 5 times a week, and my body was detoxing, but I can just imagine if I had not switched from using antiperspirant back then, because I believe that actually, if I'm really accurate about it, a couple years before I switched to making the homemade deodorant, I switched from antiperspirant to just I did use Arm & Hammer brand, and they had just a deodorant. And I used that for several years because I found that if I bought deodorant from the natural ones, they seemed like sticky or greasy, and I didn't like that. The one thing that I did get tripped up on is for a while, I tried the crystal deodorant, and my grandma was raving about the crystal deodorant. She said it was wonderful and I should try it. It was more natural and everything. And one day I turned it over to look to see what the active ingredient was, and I had used that for several years. And the number one thing in there was aluminum. Aluminum is the first thing that's in antiperspirant. And that's the whole point of not using the antiperspirant, is to get away from the aluminum. And aluminum is associated with Alzheimer's, and aluminum toxicity can really just mess up your brain. And so I was really frustrated because I had just switched and I thought I was making a healthier choice, and then I turn it over and I look at the label and it wasn't any better than the Secret. So with all that being said, it's very important to address what you put on your skin, because you're clogging the body's natural way to detox. Over time, since I have used the natural deodorant, I sweat less. It's just kind of a natural progression, and I really think that possibly that once you allow your body to not have any area where you're stopping it from sweating and releasing the toxins, that it gets to the point where it's a healthy balance and you actually really don't sweat there. And if any of my friends know that I'm the first girl whenever we're working out to be drenched in sweat, but I will tell you, on an average daily basis, I don't really have sweat in my armpits or anything like that. So I encourage you to look at your deodorant or your antiperspirant, and at least make the switch from antiperspirant to deodorant. And it's all a journey for all of us, but it's just really damaging and dangerous to have that antiperspirant in your armpits. The good news is I went for my second thermography 3 months later after I'd had the lymphatic massage. I was using 1,000 milligrams of turmeric a day, and I was using my sauna as I have been using for quite a while. And if you see, the blue isn't so constricted here, so the blood flows better. This is just because my breastbone, the skin is real, not real fatty there. But look, I just have a little tiny bit here and a little tiny bit there. And she said those were within normal limits. And what I actually plan on doing is doing some castor oil packs. And castor oil packs will break up any calcifications or anything like that you have. So that's a good way to detox the rest of the areas here if there is any accumulation. She did recommend that I do the lymphatic massage at least once a month to maintain this and to get rechecked in a year. And I will proceed with all of the treatments that she recommends, but that's just amazing to me, the difference you can make just by watching what you do and what you put on your skin. And I can't even imagine if I hadn't been using the natural deodorant for the years up to that point. I hope this is helpful to you. If you found this to be something new that you hadn't known or heard about before, if you could share it and help others be aware of how to protect their body. What you need to, another tip is anything we put on our skin is absorbed into our blood in 26 seconds. So if you're not willing to eat whatever is in your deodorant, then really ideally you shouldn't put it on your skin. So everything in the deodorant that I make, I use essential oils that are food grade. And you could eat every single thing that is an ingredient in the deodorant that I make. One thing to be aware of, I avoid deodorant. You can buy plenty of natural brands at health food stores and things like that. But I would check the ingredients, because some of them will use cornstarch. And I personally would advise staying away from any products from corn, because it's GMO and it's full of toxins and you don't want that. Have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.